Justice League is directed by Zack Snyder, written by Chris Terrio and Joss Whedon, and stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, and Ray Fisher. Superman is dead following the events of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and the world is in a new state of panic and terror. Batman and Wonder Woman must team together and recruit Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg because there is an incoming threat of Steppenwolf and his ravenous alien army that is threatening to destroy pretty much the entire world. The DCEU has not been an easy journey, whether it have been the mixed reception to Man of Steel, the outright negative responses to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad, or the surprisingly positive yet clearly standalone movie that was Wonder Woman. It's never really been clear what this universe is meant to be going forward. Justice League needed to have kind of fixed those moments in the past where it's felt so dour and so super serious and so self-important. It also needed to mix the tones of two different directors. Zack Snyder did direct a lot of this movie, but had to leave for personal reasons. Joss Whedon came on to direct reshoots and post-production. It also just had to find a new way for this universe to go forward, for these characters to move forward, and just in general, be a good movie that can actually do justice to the legacy of these characters and this team. And guess what? It does that. It does all of that. And I'm so happy to say that Justice League is good. It actually feels really nice to say that. I feel on board with the DC extended universe for the first time. Sure, Wonder Woman was really good, but that is clearly its own movie. Justice League is a movie in this universe. And actually, this is the first time where I felt like this could be something that more people can get on board with. You don't have to really look deep into it. There's not some, great themes behind the whole thing. It's ultimately a very simple, very easy superhero movie. This movie also adds in some really great character development, some pretty awesome action, some great technical construction. It's a pretty well-made movie for the most part. There are some serious flaws, and I'll get onto those, but I think that there are more positives here that outweigh the negatives, and that is perfectly fine. Ben Affleck is playing a very different Batman here, and I kind of love that. He is not afraid to crack a few jokes. Oddly enough, he actually smiles. He's not so depressed and so super serious. It actually is fun to watch Batman. That's good. Gal Gadot is perfect as Wonder Woman. Ezra Miller is the true standout as Flash. He is so eccentric, so just manic and awesome. I loved watching him. Jason Momoa is just so cool and so badass as Aquaman, but I kind of expected that going in. And Ray Fisher as well as Cyborg was something that I really was not looking forward to. From the trailers, I couldn't really get an idea of what the character was meant to be, but the way that Ray Fisher plays it, the way that the movie handles him, the way that they develop his character was actually quite surprising and quite enjoyable. All of these characters are really awesome. They work in this team better than they should. And even Superman, when he comes across, I won't tell you how he comes across, I won't tell you all the details because that's just a stupid thing to do, but the way that Henry Cavill plays him, the way that Superman interacts with this team was so refreshing. This movie was generally so refreshing to watch. It is clearly a movie made of two different directors. There are some times when it is clearly Zack Snyder's movie, particularly the first 10 minutes. Really does feel like the sequel to Batman v Superman, and I thought that was pretty rough, and I didn't know if I was going to enjoy this movie, but as it went along, as the plot started to develop, as we started to introduce these characters, see their backstories, see where they're going to go forward, it started to smoothen itself out. We got some great action sequences, we got some really awesome pieces of cinematography and music, and for the most part of this movie, I started to feel, okay, I get where this is going. Sometimes it feels like Zack Snyder, sometimes it feels like Joss Whedon. I don't know if Zack Snyder was trying to make this movie more fun and enjoyable, but I think that the most part of this movie really does feel like something that Joss Whedon had control of. And that is probably the reason why I like this movie. The stuff that I knew was Joss Whedon was the best stuff in this film. Take that as you will, but that's just how I feel. The villain Steppenwolf is as generic and boring as Malekith from Thor the Dark World. I wouldn't say that that's disappointing, just kind of unfortunate that you have to go with that one. The pace of this movie is incredibly quick, which can work to the detriment of the plot. Some developments in where the plot's going can just feel completely glossed over and just forgotten, and I keep thinking, no, can we go back to that? Because that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. Why are we just moving so fast through that? Can we just really explore where that's going so I can get a clear idea of why we need to go from point A to point B to point C so quickly? Some of the visual effects shots, not all of them, generally the visual effects are pretty good. But there are some scenes, some obvious green screen or even the use of CGI on Henry Cavill's top lip to remove his mustache. That's a whole thing. That's really obvious, and it's kind of unintentionally hilarious, and that's a problem. I don't want to be taken out of the experience by only a couple of visual effects shots, but I was, so yeah. Justice League, as I said, also has some great cinematography by Fabian Wagner. He uses this very different aspect ratio of 1 to 85 to 1, which is kind of, it looks very box-like, almost like an IMAX format, and that was awesome because it made the movie look and feel larger than life. That's pretty appropriate. And the music by Danny Elfman probably won't instantly hit with people like, oh yes, I remember that as the Justice League music, like other Danny Elfman scores for superhero movies, but he does infuse a few memorable tracks, whether it be from his own work or from other people's works with other superheroes. There is also still a beating heart to the score, and that is pretty fun to listen to. Justice League in general is a pretty fun movie. It's incredibly enjoyable. Those flaws will be more obvious to some than to others. I personally saw them but didn't harp on them too much. I was having too much fun watching this movie. This movie has so many really hilarious scenes, which just was so good. I'm so thankful that I can say that Justice League is a funny movie at times. It also moves the characters along in the right kind of ways. It is a right step forward for the DCEU. I can definitely recommend going out to see Justice League in the cinemas. I don't know if it's going to be for everyone out there, but there are going to be a fair few people who just go in expecting just a good time at the movies. That's exactly what they got. That's exactly what I got. Justice League, for me, was filled with great performances, some great technical construction. It is an enjoyable, easy, simple piece of popcorn entertainment, and that's just how I feel. So Justice League, have you seen it? Please tell me what you think about it in the comments below. There are going to be videos linked down here or one over there. For more Mr. Movies, please press my little face right there. Thanks for watching.